What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Detroit Lions defense for 2021 and going forward, and the differences that we're going to see, but also why offenses, I think, are going to be a little bit scared of that front seven specifically. So let's get it started.
Up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, and we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Welcome everybody to the video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, we're talking about the Detroit Lions defense, but I couldn't help and observe what is going on with my man Big Play Slay's hand here. Okay, is he doing the teapot? But now it's this. Okay, hey, okay, Big Play, you do you, and your head's a little crooked too, but that's fine. You chill up here with Matthew. So we're going to be talking about the Detroit Lions defense for 2021, but of course, going forward as well. But specifically, I want to talk about this Lions front seven because we know there's going to be changes. We've been told there's going to be changes. So I wanted to dive into that in terms of personnel, but also schematically and what it's going to mean, the differences, the tendency differences that we're going to see from this regime, from the past regime. Recently, we've talked a lot about the Detroit Lions offense, Jared Goff, Anthony Lynn, but today I wanted to talk about the Detroit Lions defense and specifically that front seven because there are a lot of changes coming to the Detroit Lions, but also why I think this defense is going to be kind of scary and some offenses aren't going to want to see this front seven. So that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. So of course, the Lions had a lot of turnover. It makes sense. You have a new coach. The Lions had a lot of turnover offensively, but also defensively. Whole new coaching staff, new defensive line coach, Todd Wash, new linebacker coach, Mark DeLone, new secondary coach, and Aubrey Pleasant, and of course, a new defensive coordinator in Aaron Glenn. You had changes in personnel, the addition of Levi, the addition of Mcneil, the addition and trade for Michael Brockers, and of course, a few free agent signings here, Charles Harris. You know, you had some moves the Lions made this offseason, but a lot of changes in personnel and also in the staff. But one big change and one big addition the Lions made, specifically in the staff, is the addition of Dom Capers. Hiring Dom Capers as a senior defensive assistant, to me, is going to be a very big factor to this Lions defense. And we were kind of already told that by Todd Wash when he said he basically invented this defense. So yeah, okay, Todd Wash is going to have a little impact on this Lions defense going forward. But the addition of Todd Wash, to me, is going to be huge. Now, like Aubrey Pleasant, Aaron Glenn has the background of Bill Parcells, which is a 2-gapping 3-4 style defense. And that's what the Lions are going to be running this season. And so does Dom Capers because he did that with the Green Bay Packers. Now, he's been a defense coordinator many times. He's done a lot of different things defensively, but most recently, 2-gapping 3-4 defense is what Dom Capers was a part of. But also, these guys have a history together as Dom Capers coached Aaron Glenn back when he was with Houston. Start off with the base defense for the Detroit Lions first, and then we'll get into the sub defense. And the biggest change and the biggest headline we've had really so far this offseason about the Lions defense is Trey Flowers and Romeo Cora moving to outside linebacker in the Lions base defense. Now, it's important to mention that you're really only in your base defense like 1/3 of the snaps, so it's not like you're there all the time. You're not there that often, but the change is Romeo Cora, Trey Flowers moving to outside linebacker, no longer having their hand in the dirt in these base situations. When it's sub situations, that completely changes. But in the base defense, in your 3-4, 2-gapping base defense. Now, the Detroit Lions this offseason have brought in the pieces so that they could do this. Bringing in Michael Brockers, to me, and we'll get into it a little bit later, was the most important addition you made to the front seven. I'm going to say it right now. If you're wondering what I think it is Michael Brockers. Michael Brockers is going to be game-changing in that front seven. But also, the drafting of Levi and Mcneil allows you to do things like this, pushing Trey Flowers and Romeo Cora to the outside. Now, how do we know they're running a 2-gap defense? Well, first off, because of the history of Dom Capers and also Aaron Glenn, but also what Todd Wash said in his press conference with the Detroit Lions.
The passer, you know, that's where they all pin their ears back and they go. But one of the biggest things we're talking about is we got to earn the right to rush up front. You know, we're going to be able to stop the run with our front seven. And to do that, obviously, we got to be able to play square to the line of scrimmage. We got to take on blocks, not run around people.
Square to blocks, not run around people is basically a 2-gap in a nutshell, because 2-gap all means is that you're responsible for 2 gaps as a defensive lineman. So Mcneil, let's say he's starting a nose tackle. Levi, Michael Brockers, say those are the 3 defensive linemen. They're responsible for 2 gaps, and they've all done it. They all have done this in the past, so it's nothing new to them, but they're responsible for 2 gaps, and that is what Todd Wash is saying here. You also notice that he said, hey, our front seven is going to allow us to stop the run, because it will, because of the amount of size that the Lions have and a really good run defender, specifically a guy like Michael Brockers, who is one of the best in the league. You're going to be able to stop the run. Hey, we need to earn the opportunities to rush the quarterback. Everybody wants to get sacks, but we need to earn these opportunities. So basically, we're going to build a wall on the defensive line, and then we can earn these opportunities to get after the quarterback when they go to sub and nickel dime packages. And this is something that all players understand, specifically on the defensive line. We got to be able to stop the run first, because if we can stop the run, we can get pass rush opportunities. If we can't stop the run, we won't get these opportunities. Michael Brocker said that back with the LA Rams when they were going into the playoffs. Trey Flowers said it with the Detroit Lions in 2019. We have to be able to stop the run first. And the way that Todd Walsh explained it made it sound just like a two-gapping defense as well. Really, the idea of this is really to open up linebackers. This is where you see linebackers get a lot of stats. They pile up a lot of stats because they're opening up linebackers. Two-gapping 3-4 is exactly how Lawrence Taylor basically took over the NFL, because you're opening up these linebackers, which is what it's going to do for Trey Flowers and Romeo Cora, two of the better pass rushers in the league. Romeo Cora last season was fantastic. 18th in pass rush win rate. I mean, he was really good, 10 sacks. And Trey Flowers, people forget back in 2019 when he was healthy, he was top 5 in the league getting pressure. The guy was fantastic. You have two of the better pressure guys in the league. Because your responsibility is the two-gap, you're not the player getting open in the last regime. However, now you are. And the biggest difference here is that now Trey Flowers and Romeo Cora are linebackers. So basically, you have these big defensive linemen opening up guys, your two best players, on the defense. Now, last season, Romeo Cora and Trey Flowers, those guys were on the defensive line, and we had some issues with that. Do you remember we struggled to stop the run? At one point, we put John Benicini on the defensive line just to get some extra size, because we struggled to stop the run, so we couldn't get pass rush opportunities. Well, with these additions that the Lions have made this offseason, now you're going to be able to stop the run. Additions, plus what you've already had on the roster, the Detroit Lions no longer need Romeo Cora and Trey Flowers to play on the defensive line in their base defense. So they're getting a lot more size with their front three defensive linemen and pushing them to the outside, which is going to give them some more opportunities to get back to the quarterback. Now, the three responsibilities we were told by Todd Walsh is to get to the quarterback, to set the edge, and be serviceable in coverage. Those are the three things that you have to do. Now, Romeo Cora, he did this back at Notre Dame. He played outside linebacker at Notre Dame, so I don't have any concerns with him. His athleticism tells me that he can do this. Actually, if anything, for Romeo Cora, I'm more excited to see him play this role, because I think it's going to benefit him, if anything, specifically against the run. Last season, he was an incredible pass rusher. He definitely has the athleticism to set the edge. We've seen him against tight ends, hold his own, get to the outside. The issue with Romeo Cora, where he struggled, was trying to two-gap on the defensive line. That's where he had problems because of his size. He struggled to hold his ground in those situations, and because of that, he struggled against the run. So putting him in an outside linebacker, opening up a little bit more, not asking him to clog the lanes at 265, which usually when you're playing a 3-4-2 gap, your defensive ends are at least 280 pounds. So we had smaller defensive linemen doing that. Now, Trey Flowers was able to do it because, honestly, Trey Flowers can kind of do it all. Even though he doesn't get credit for it, can literally do it all defensively. I mean, he could play nose tackle. He played nose tackle 1 year for New England, and when he was at nose tackle, he had the highest pressure rate of anybody on the team that year in that role, because he can just play everywhere on the field, his strength and his length. So he could play on the defensive line, but he's also pushing the outside linebacker. And even though this is new for a guy like Trey Flowers, I do believe he has the athleticism to be serviceable dropping in coverage. I have no concerns with him setting the edge. And of course, we know that he can get after the quarterback just like Romeo Cora can. I'm wondering where this idea came from to push these guys to outside linebacker. Well, first off, I mean, just getting more size, it just made sense. You should have more size for trying to play a 3-4-2 gapping scheme. But it's also something that Dom Capers did with the Green Bay Packers. With the Green Bay Packers, most recently, he did the same thing. He put Nick Perry, Jones, and he put Nick Perry at outside linebacker. So he had two big outside linebackers. He had one that was 285, and he had one that was 265, playing the same role in his base sets. And of course, then he had the 3 down linemen. So he did something with the Green Bay Packers. And actually, some defenses have done this in the past. Go back to 2008, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They did the same thing. When this defense was insane, they had Lamar Woodley and James Harrison. A little bit smaller, but they asked these guys to drop into coverage, just be serviceable on these base downs and these base formations. And that's all the Lions are doing with Trey Flowers and Romeo Cora. Trey Flowers getting paid $90 million. I mean, he should be able to drop in coverage, and Romeo Cora just got the new deal. They believe that both these guys have the athleticism. Actually, they believe that this will make them better. I think it makes Romeo Cora better. Trey Flowers, I'm not completely sure, but like I said, he's already proven I can play everywhere on the field, and I can play everywhere at a high level. I can stop the run, I can pass rush. He can do everything. That's why he he was paid the amount of money that he was paid. The idea of what the Lions defense will look like in a base formation. As you can see, your defensive line, Michael Brockers, Ali Mcneil, Levi Onwuzurike. Now, we're not exactly sure who's going to start at that Levi spot. It definitely could be Deshaun Hand in base situations if he's healthy, because he's not as much of a pass rusher as he is a run stopper. And that would make sense because Levi's going to play a lot in these sub packages. Ali Mcneil, we're not sure who's going to be him or John Pennicini. Again, it could be either or here, but I just put the two young guys to show you. And of course, you have Michael Brockers. Now, the reason Michael Brockers to me is going to be the biggest game changer is because he is a stud run stopper. He's played about 60 to 70% of the snaps with the LA Rams, and that's his job. A lot of times he comes off the field in those sub package formations, which I expect to happen with the Detroit Lions because they go get more speed on the field. But on these early downs, shutting down the run, he is outstanding at that. In 2019, he ranked 5th in the league in unstop rate, and he was also the 7th highest graded defensive lineman at stopping the run that season. Over the last 4 years, he's averaged 55.75 tackles a season. Aaron Donald, even though his career isn't super long, has only had 2 years with more tackles, and he's only playing 60 to 70% of the snaps. He is a stud run stopper. Reason being, he's 325, and he's got a lot of strength. That's his calling card, is moving guys back. He can play all over the defensive line. Even he said himself, hey, I'm versatile. I can play everywhere. I saw this guy play nose tackle. I've seen him move all over defensive line, especially when Aaron Donald is not on the field. His ability to play a lot of different spots gives the Lions a lot of flexibility. But what Michael Brockers likes about this Lions defensive scheme is that he says it gets us a lot of one-on-one opportunities, because Trey, Romeo, you don't know when they're coming, but they can both blitz. They can both come off the edge, and it gives us a lot of one-on-one opportunities against guards. See, that's the thing. Even though the background is a two-gapping defense, the thing is that if you bring Trey Flowers and Romeo Cora off the edge, all of a sudden you have 5 rushers coming at the quarterback. Not to mention your 2 best are your edge rushers, who are supposed to be opened up by your defensive line. And that's where the focus is going to go for an offense. That gives one-on-one opportunities to guys like Michael Brockers against guards, tackles. Then you have Ali Mcneil, Levi Onwuzurike. And what's special about these 2 players is, even though they're young now, is that they do have that pass rushing upside. Levi had a 9% pressure rate back in college. And what's impressive about that is he's still kind of raw. He didn't start until 2019, and he didn't play in 2020. Ali Mcneil played in the defense at NC State that was also 2-gap. He didn't get those 1-gapping opportunities. He played the role that we're expecting to play this season. Gap control is the 2-gapping defense. However, Dom Capers has shown that he'll mix in looks like this, where he will give an opportunity for a nose tackle to shade over to one side or the other. If Lions can stop the run, they're going to get chances to get after the quarterback. And statistically, the stats say this. The Lions' 3 highest sack seasons going back to 2011 all have come when they've had their best run defense. 2018, the first year with Matt Patricia, the Detroit Lions were middle of the road at stopping the run, so they had over 40 sacks. 2015, 2014, when you can stop the run, you get more opportunities to get after the quarterback. And even if you aren't great at pass rushing, the opportunities are what's important. You have to get chances to do it, and you can't do that if you can't stop the run. So everybody's put the focus on we have to stop the run, as they should, and that's the first part that should make you excited, because now all of a sudden, instead of asking Trey Flowers or Romeo at 265 to do this, you're asking basically 300-pound defensive linemen to hold their gaps, as they should be able to. And then you have Trey and Romeo, who are basically being opened up by the defensive line because they are responsible for 2 gaps. That's what's exciting about this defense. And of course, if you bring them off the edge, now you have 5 guys coming. See, one thing that's different about Dom Capers and the pass regime with Matt Patricia is that Dom Capers wants to get after the quarterback at all costs. And like Todd Walsh said, we're going to bring 4, 5, 6 guys, whatever it takes. We have to get the quarterback uncomfortable. And Dom Capers will do that. From 2009 to 2014, above the league average in blitz rate from 2009 to 2014. And the thing about Dom Capers is that if he struggles to get after the quarterback, he'll blitz even more. Some seasons he was pushing 47% blitz percentage. Almost every other play this guy was blitzing, which is 5 or more rushers. That's going to be very different from what the Lions have seen the last few years. Plus, he doesn't do a lot of 3-man rushes either. So he's all about 4, 5, 6 guys because he wants to get after the quarterback. But again, the focus was stopping the run first. So essentially what you did by bringing these bigger defensive linemen is help out the pass rush, because you can stop the run on these early downs and get yourself in these situations to get after the quarterback and open up. And I believe Flowers, and I know Flowers can do it, but I believe Romeo actually improves playing outside linebacker because he is no longer tasked with, gap control. He is now just setting the edge, using his athleticism, which to me is his best trait. The thing about Levi and Aleem is that anything they give you as a pass rush is a bonus, because usually these guys aren't much pass rushers. However, the Detroit Lions basically landed some studs because they got some of the most athletic defensive linemen in this class. Levi has the quickest get off of any defensive lineman. He's pushing 300 pounds. And Mcneil is the most athletic nose tackle in this class. Actually, PFF did an all draft team and they took at nose tackle Mcneil because there's no other nose tackle that's as athletic as Mcneil. So it's the pass rushing upside that in certain situations, especially if you're bringing the edge, you could get some pass rush. You're going to push those guys to outside linebacker and then you're going to play your bigger defensive linemen in your base situations. Now, what's nice about the Lions staying in the 3-4-2 guys specifically is that a lot of these guys are comfortable because they're familiar with what's going to be asked of them. Jelani Tavai, Jamie Collins, right? These guys that were here last season, Austin Bryant, Romeo Cora, they understand what their responsibilities are going to be. The difference here is that last season, you didn't really have the size. And then when you put the size on the field with a guy like Penasini, they don't really have pass rushing upside. Now you have athletic defensive linemen with the size, and they've all been part of gap control, two gapping situations. So they all know how to do it. And that's going to open up Trey and Romeo. Think about the defensive line in this situation if you brought all five guys. And Dom Capers, he likes to do that. He's very aggressive. And we believe that Aaron Glenn's going to be very aggressive as well as the Lions' new defensive coordinator. But then that takes you to those sub, the nickel, the dime packages. Okay, these situations you get in when an offense throws an extra receiver on the field. This is what you're in most of the time. Now, the question is, what defense will the Lions play in this situation? And here's kind of my idea on it. I'm starting to lean towards the idea of the Lions playing 2-4-5, a 2-4-5 defense in these situations. Now, 2-4-5, the benefit of a 2-4-5 defense is that it opens up zone blitz opportunities and cornerback blitz opportunities. There's really three ways that teams do this, three main ways: 2-4-5, 3-3-5, and a 4-2-5. Last season, we saw the New Orleans Saints with Aaron Glenn there as a secondary coach run a 4-2-5 defense because their main defense was a 4-3. So all they would do is take a linebacker off the field, put an extra defensive back in, boom, you're in a nickel package. That's what the Saints did last season. But the reason I'm starting to lean towards 2-4-5 is kind of a little bit of best of both worlds for the Detroit Lions here. A 2-4-5 is very similar to a 4-2-5 sub package because really the only difference is your two outside linebackers just don't have their hands in the dirt. It looks exactly the same as a 4-2-5. You just don't have your hands in the dirt if you're an outside linebacker. Also ties into what Todd Wash said the Lions would do in these situations. Todd Wash said that Trey Flowers would move from outside linebacker to putting his hand in the dirt. And he said playing defensive end. Well, you do have one defensive end in the 2-4-5 technically. He also said that Levi would push inside. So from defensive end on your base downs to pushing inside in these sub packages. He didn't specify what that meant. Nose tackle, 3-tech. He didn't specify, but he did say push inside. And that's what he would be likely doing in a 2-4-5 defense. And like I said, then you have your two outside linebackers, which are basically playing defensive end type of roles. You still have your two inside linebackers, which to me, this is where you'll see guys like Alex Anzalone more often because of his size. He'll probably be less on the base downs, more in these sub packages playing this role because of his speed and his size. It makes more sense to give him opportunities in this role. Player that I must just bring up because I don't want to forget, and this is Derek Barnes. Derek Barnes is reminding me a lot of Clay Matthews. See, Clay Matthews, we know Clay Matthews, outside linebacker, Green Bay Packers. Well, Derek Barnes is kind of reminding me of him a little bit because with Dom Capers, of course, he played outside linebacker. They have very similar size, very similar pro day numbers coming out. For the first 3 years at Purdue, Derek Barnes played outside linebacker, and he was really good at it, super strong for his size, and they're both very athletic. But when Dom Capers needed inside linebacker help because of injuries, he pushed Clay Matthews inside linebacker, and he was one of the best in the league. I see similarities between those two and their ability to bounce back and forth. Now, Dan Cable did say he wants him to play that Mike linebacker role, and I'm sure he will probably a majority of the time, but the ability to bounce back and forth. Because outside linebacker for the Lions in these sub-packages can be very versatile. A lot of guys can do it. Austin Bryant, Julian Okwara, Charles Harris, Derek Barnes, Jamie Collins, Jelani Tavai. So many guys have played this role. And of course, now we're putting Trey and Romeo there. They even have the ability to do it. Put your extra DB on the field. To me, this makes sense because this is what Dom Capers did with the Green Bay Bay Packers is he ran a 2-4-5 with Green Bay. And like I said, Aaron Glenn's familiar with the 4-2-5. And since they're so similar, it would make sense the Lions would do something like this. And again, the whole idea of going to a sub package is usually to get more speed on the field, get more obvious pass rushers because it's more obvious passing downs. And you can't do that if you can't stop the run. So the first focus is stop the run. And adding what the Lions have done, look how much size they're going to have on that defensive line. Ali Mcneil, 327. John Benassini's 330, 340. Michael Brockers is 325. All right, Levi is almost 300 pounds versus 265, 265 was what you had last season trying the two gap on the defensive line. And then when you would take them out to put bigger guys, you had no pass rushing upside. All these guys have pass rushing upside. Now you have Trey and Romeo on the outside at 265 that can pass rush and they can stop the run. The size difference is huge here. And when you take teams like Minnesota that like to run the ball and set play action, you have to be able to stop the run because it's what Dom Capers has done most recently, and it's also very similar to a 4-2-5, which Aaron Glenn is very familiar with. And it's all about zone blitzing. Capers was a big part of putting together Blitzburg. Capers is extremely aggressive, especially in these sub and nickel packages, because he is all about getting after the quarterback. And as you guys can see here from this diagram, this is what I'm thinking the Detroit Lions personnel could look like. So if you're in a 2-4-5, Trey Flowers plays that defensive end role. Right now he's on the line, hand in the dirt. And basically Todd Wash said is what they want to do with Trey Flowers is they want him to take a little bit away. That way he can play faster. I'm thinking what he's saying there is that, hey, we don't want you to have to worry about dropping into coverage on third down in these nickel sets. So we just want to put you on the defensive line. That way all you got to worry about is get after the quarterback. Simple, you can play faster. You don't have to think about things. And we know Trey Flowers can play all over defensive line and have success. He did it at nose tackle. And then Levi pushing inside here, who has a lot of pass rushing upside, still young, but he could play this role. And you have a couple guys that could also play this role. Then on the outside, because you're getting faster, basically what you do is you take Michael Brockers off. You're taking guys like Ali Mcneil off the field, which is fine. Michael Brockers has always done with the LA Rams. He's not a top pass rushing guy. He is a really good run stopper with some upside in certain situations to get after the quarterback. He does bring that element, but he's not a specialist as a pass rusher. So then at outside linebacker, which would be defensive end of 4-2-5, you could put guys like Romeo Cora, then he's on the same field at the same time as the guy like Romeo, and we know he has the ability to drop. He has a few interceptions back in college. You could put guys like Derek Barnes, Jamie Collins. You have so many guys. And when you look at the Lions did this offseason, it makes sense that they are prepared for this because they brought in so many outside linebackers. Austin Bryant, Julian Okwara, those guys were here. You brought in Charles Harris. You brought in your Reggie Gilbert. A guy like Derek Barnes who could play both inside linebacker and he played outside linebacker for 3 years at Purdue. Jelani Tavai, Jamie Collins. You have so many guys that could play that role. It would make sense that the Lions would do something like that. It's open to a lot of blitz opportunities, which we know they're going to want to do. And it also opens up cornerback blitz opportunities because your two inside linebackers can help in coverage. You run a 3-3-5 and a 4-2-5. 4-2-5 simply is what the Saints did last season. You basically just put 4 down linemen. Just like 2-4-5, same thing. You just put the guys' hands in the dirt. I don't think the Lions will do that. Or you could run a 3-3-5. Now, this is the least common of the three, but you could do it. All you're basically doing is getting an extra defensive lineman here. And if the Lions want to do this, they could. A lot of times teams run a stack 3-3-5 out of this, but you just really want to make sure that you have 3 linebackers that you can trust can drop into coverage. To me, 2-4-5 is super similar to what you already are asking the players to do, so it's likely that they would do that. But you could run a 3-3-5, and I think it could look something like this. Levi plays basically that nose tackle type of role, pushing inside. Trey and Romeo would then just be on the defensive line. See, I think in a 2-4-5, Romeo is the guy that keeps his hand out of the dirt because he has the background doing that, and also I think he's a little bit more athletic, a little bit quicker than a guy like Trey Flowers. But if you go to a 3-3-5, you just basically put them on the D line. Then around the linebacker position, you could have Julian Okwara, you could have Alex Anzalone, you could have Derek Barnes. So you could run either of these. And the thing is, Dom Capers has done it all. He's done 1 defensive lineman, 2 defensive linemen, 4 defensive linemen. He's done it all. So he has experience doing this. This defensive line, to me, on paper, looks really scary. And there's a couple reasons for that. First off, you have the size to stop the run. If you can stop the run, you get pass rushing downs. All of a sudden, you can use all these pass rushers and get after the quarterback. That's the first and most important part. And the Lions are in a better situation now. Like Todd Wash said, we're just going to build a wall. Look, all these guys can stop the run. Back in college, Levi had the lowest missed tackle percentage of anybody. Ali Mcneil can easily stop the run. That's all he was asked to do at NC State. And Michael Brockers is one of the best run stoppers in football. Aaron Donald said it himself. He's one of the best run stoppers in the NFL. He believes that. And that's why they kept bringing him back. But of course, because of financial reasons, they had to trade him away. He is the biggest thing. Also, look at how the contracts are set up here. Michael Brockers signed a deal through 2023 after we traded for him. Then you have Romeo Cora, 3-year deal through 2023. Trey Flowers through 2023. Julian Okwara through 2023. All right, Jay Sean Cordell technically will be through 2023. 2023. And then, of course, Levi and Aleem are both under rookie deals. How many young guys you have on this defensive line in front seven that are locked up? Derek Barnes going forward, Jamie Collins for a couple more years, right? And you restructured his deal to make sure that he's still here. So what you have with the Detroit Lions is you have a lot of guys that are going to be here for the next few years. So you can build that familiarity and comfortability within the front seven, because the Lions understand it's all from the trenches. Trenches out. We got to build through the trenches. And the Lions have the pieces to do that. And I think Trey and Romeo improve. I'm really thinking this defense line is going to be scary. And you throw in the fact that we're going to be much more aggressive than we were in the past. The Lions are going to get after a little bit. And then the pass rushing upside. Most teams that run a 2-gap 3-4 don't have their defense line with pass rushing upside. Their nose tackle, their defensive ends really don't get after it, which is what the Lions had last season. But now you do. The Lions have special players. In a weak defensive line draft class, they got guys like Aleem and Levi that can get after the quarterback, which is extremely impressive considering that their first and most important role will be stop the run first. And the Lions, of course, have a lot of depth here and a lot of guys that can play so many different positions because you're staying in a similar defense, which finds a role for everybody. That's the benefit of this front seven. Guys like Penasini that will rotate in with the lead. Deshaun Hand and Levi, to me, will rotate in and out. Nick Williams can also be thrown there. Michael Brockers, he's going to be a starter on those base situations. But then Trey and Romeo moving to outside, to me, is actually very big because it's going to open up opportunities for Michael Brockers, for these defensive linemen that have pass rush upside when you bring them. Because if you focus, and the focus will be on Trey Flowers, Romeo Cora, because everybody knows these are their top two defensive players. And once you focus on them, great. Congratulations. Now you got Levi, Aleem, and Michael Brockers coming after the quarterback. They can get after the quarterback. So good luck with that because they have the shortest distance to the quarterbacks.
Congratulations. You played yourself.
At the time of the draft, maybe you were caught off guard a little bit. Why back-to-back defensive linemen? But now I understand what the Lions are doing. The Lions needed this size to complete this vision of what Dom Capers and Aaron Glenn are trying to do here defensively. And I'm telling you, it looks scary. Just because it's a 3-4-2 gap does not mean at all that it's going to be like what we saw with Matt Patricia. This is a scary front seven on paper, and I'm super excited to see it. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.